With the arrival of the new Fantastic Four movie, we are being transported back in time. Not just to the origins of Marvel's first family, but to a very specific moment in history, the optimistic, jet-powered, high-fidelity world of the 1960s. The aesthetic is undeniable, the clean lines, the space-age technology, the bold architecture. But have you ever wondered, why does that specific vision of the future feel so familiar, so potent? Was it all just the imagination of comic book artists like Jack Kirby? Or were they tapping into something real? The truth is, the world the Fantastic Four movie is recreating is not entirely fiction. It's a reflection of a real future, a future that the people of the 1960s truly believed they were about to build. A future of atomic power, personal jetpacks, and utopian cities under glass domes. So let's leave the movie set for a moment and take a journey into the real retrofuturism that inspired it all. The most visible expression of this 1960s optimism was an architectural style known as Googie. Named after a coffee shop in Hollywood, Googie was the architecture of the space age. It was all about motion, drama, and a bold declaration of faith in technology. You see it in the upswept roofs that look like wings, the starburst patterns, the atomic and boomerang shapes. It wasn't just for buildings, it was a total design language. From diners and car washes to the iconic theme building at the Los Angeles airport, Googie made everyday life feel like a scene from the Jetsons. It was fun, it was theatrical, and it promised that the future was not just coming, it was already here, and you could grab a milkshake in it. This aesthetic reached its peak at the World's Fairs, which were essentially giant real-life advertisements for the future. The 1962 Seattle World's Fair gave us the magnificent Space Needle, a permanent monument to the dream of reaching the stars. But it was the 1964 New York World's Fair that truly showcased the world of tomorrow. General Motors' Futurama 2 exhibit was a stunning ride that took visitors through miniature cities in the jungle, bases on the moon, and hotels under the sea. It wasn't just a fantasy. It was a corporate promise, a vision of a future powered by industry and innovation, presented as an inevitability. These weren't just fairs. They were pilgrimages to a future that felt just within reach. This obsession with the future wasn't limited to giant structures. It drove right into the heart of the American dream, the automobile. The 1950s and 60s were the golden age of the concept car. Designers at General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler were given free rein to imagine the vehicles of tomorrow, and they looked to the skies for inspiration. The GM Firebird series, for instance, were essentially jet fighters on wheels, complete with bubble canopies, turbine engines, and dramatic tail fins that mimicked rocket ships. They were wildly impractical, often inefficient, but that wasn't the point. They were rolling sculptures, physical manifestations of a culture that believed personal transportation was on the verge of breaking free from the ground itself. Inside the home, the space age was also taking over. Interior design embraced new materials like plastic, fiberglass, and chrome. Furniture became organic and abstract, with designers like Eero Saarinen creating his iconic tulip chairs and tables that looked like they belonged on the bridge of a starship. Televisions were housed in sleek, futuristic consoles, and kitchens were filled with all-electric wonders that promised to automate domestic life. It was a design philosophy that aimed to erase the past and create a clean, efficient, and exciting living space, a personal utopia to match the grander vision being built outside. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the design of a forgotten future, consider subscribing. We post new explorations like this every week. Your support allows us to keep digging into history. Now, let's get back to the dream. But what was the fuel for this explosion of futuristic design? The answer lies in the geopolitical tension of the Cold War. The space race between the United States and the Soviet Union wasn't just a scientific competition. It was an ideological battle for the future of humanity itself. Every successful launch, every new milestone, was a victory broadcast to the world. And this intense focus on space bled into every aspect of culture. At the center of it all was a new kind of hero, the astronaut. The original Mercury 7 astronauts were portrayed as the pinnacle of human achievement. Brave, intelligent, cool under pressure. They were living embodiments of the future. Their spacesuits, designed by NASA, became icons of futuristic design. The very aesthetic of NASA, with its clean worm logo and its precisely engineered capsules and control rooms, became the gold standard for what the future should look like. It was a brand of competent, clean, and powerful optimism. This is the world that gave birth to the Fantastic Four. Reed Richards, Sue, Johnny, and Ben were, in essence, civilian astronauts. Their story of venturing into the unknown of cosmic rays was a direct reflection of the real-world narrative of space exploration. The public's fascination with the real-life heroes of NASA provided the perfect foundation for a new age of comic book heroes who didn't just fight crime on Earth, they charted the cosmos. So, if the 1960s were so certain about this bright, atomic-powered, spacefaring future, what happened to it? Why don't we live in Googie-style houses and drive turbine-powered cars? The answer is that reality, as it often does, intervened. The boundless optimism of the early 60s began to erode under the weight of very real-world problems. The escalating Vietnam War shattered the image of American technological and moral invincibility. Protests and social upheaval at home revealed deep divisions in society. The 1973 oil crisis brought the era of cheap, abundant energy to a sudden halt, making gas-guzzling, jet-inspired cars seem not just frivolous, but irresponsible. The future suddenly seemed less like a clean, automated utopia and more complex, uncertain, and dangerous. As a result, design itself began to change. The playful, theatrical optimism of Googie gave way to the heavy, earth-toned brutalism and the introspective mood of the 1970s. Science fiction, too, became darker and more cynical. The shiny, clean futures were replaced by the gritty, dystopian worlds of films like Soylent Green and later, Blade Runner. The dream of a perfect future didn't die completely, but it became more complicated, more nuanced, and tinged with a deep sense of loss for the simpler, more hopeful vision it had replaced. And so we are left with a strange kind of nostalgia. A nostalgia for a future that we never actually had. The Googie diners, the jet-powered cars, the unwavering belief in progress, they exist now as powerful cultural artifacts, echoes of a time when humanity looked forward with an almost childlike sense of wonder. This is precisely why a movie like Fantastic Four chooses to return to that era. It's not just about historical accuracy to the comics. It's about tapping into the power of that lost optimism. By setting their story in the 1960s, they are not just telling a story about the past. They are exploring a future from the past, reminding us of a time when we dared to dream on a cosmic scale. Here at the Future Past, we believe that understanding these lost dreams is essential. They are the blueprints of our modern imagination. If you enjoyed this journey back to the future, subscribe to our channel and join us as we continue to explore the incredible futures that never were.